So first question that I have is just a basic one, and I want to ask Stuart this question, and if any of the rest of you want to chime in, that'd be great as well. So people here have sat through a whole day of great apologetics, great information, and now they want to go into their families and the marketplace and into their places of work and have these kind of conversations with people who are not believers. But they will likely find that the conversations they think they're going to have are not like they thought they were, right? Like the conversations in your mind that you have in an apologetics conference don't really happen all the time with your neighbor over the backyard fence. So how would you encourage these people to live this out and to be a witness in their communities, knowing now what they know after today?
Thank you. Well, it's really been a joy to be here, and I remember when I was preparing teams that used to go into Eastern Europe during the communist years, and we would send them in as just as tourists, essentially, and some of them were students and afraid a little bit of being in a communist country and unsure what would happen. And one of the things we always encouraged them was pray for divine appointments. You know, really pray. And I mean, Blackaby taught us that you should pray with your eyes open. Once you pray, keep your eyes and see what God is going to do. So I think in the marketplace, at the university, I think if we do that, we start getting an expectation. Just saying, Lord, if there's someone I can, have a conversation with or I can show love to, I think we shouldn't put ourselves under such heavy duress, but to take it very naturally, just see what God does. But if you do make it a habit of praying, then you do need to keep your eyes open so that sometimes when the presentations come, you don't muff it or, walk away from it, but always be ready just to talk. And, I think time and time again, you'll see God bring people there. And often it can start with just asking simple questions, not loaded Christian questions, but just showing love, kindness, asking people how they are. Many of the conversations, I think all of us get into, come out of just a normal conversation that then segues into something. Because once it touches a point of pain or sorrow, even happiness, then you've got a place that you can bridge off from.
That's really good. J. Warner Wallace, I want to ask a follow-up to you along those lines. Sometimes I think we think that there's going to be this one grand moment in conversation and we're going to lay out all of our apologetics and then people will fall and say, what must I do to be saved? And it'll be over with. But real life is not like that. It may be a series of conversations over a lifetime, right?
Yeah, I think we sometimes think that all evangelism efforts are like a game of tennis, right? You hit the ball over the net, and if you're in bounds, the game continues. If you don't, it's all on you. I've made the mistake. I'm out of bounds, and it's just me and the person on the other side of the net. And so my efforts sometimes feel that way. And I've got a father who I'm constantly talking to about these issues, who is not a believer. But really what we've learned, I think, doing this over the years, is this is really a game of baseball. And that you don't know where the person you're talking to is on the base path. That person might be on first base, and all you're going to do is hit just bunt a single that's going to move them to second. And it may take many years to go around. Everyone is on some journey. I've worked with my family. I've got people I know who are not believers. And their journey, when they finally do become believers, they'll say something like, well, 5 years ago I had this conversation, and then a couple of years later I had this. It's like a 5 to 10 year story of how they are traveling around the base path. So I no longer get upset when I'm having a conversation with somebody and it feels like, well, nothing happened. Well, yeah, you don't know what happened because we're thinking in terms of home runs. If I don't score a run, I didn't do anything. Well, no, you're advancing people on the base path. So the role we have is to get up and make contact with the ball. That's it. Because you don't know. Also, though, it prevents me from being too full of myself when someone does come to faith and you think, whoa, I'm good. No, you're not good. Dude was on third base leaning in the whole time.
Yeah.
Right?
That's good.
Because he's been there for 2 years because somebody else got him to third base. So I just think if we look at ourselves as playing a small role, and all your responsibility to do is to get up, get off the bench, and make contact.
And sometimes these conversations go into extra innings, do they not?
Yes, they do. I'm still in extra innings with my dad.
Okay.
So that's why we do these things knowing that God is the mover and shaker to make this happen, but we have a role to play. We just don't know what role, where we're advancing the runner.